We had a productive bye week. Staff got on the road. We were out Monday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of last week. We practiced on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We scrimmaged our development guys last week 3 times. We went Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, and then Thursday morning. And y'all asked about this, so really puts together some standouts from those scrimmages. Combined, I think about 80 plays, maybe a little bit more, spread out over 3 days. Defensively, Torres Simmons continues, and you saw he got to play. He got into the rotation at Baylor. And I think he'll continue to be in the rotation. He did a nice job. St. McLeod was probably the bright spot of the week, just showing up, and he played on special teams versus Baylor, and I think he'll continue to do that, and really feel good about future for him. Athletic, physical, starting to learn, what we're doing. Eddie Vesteranian did a nice job. Caden Beiser from right here in Morgantown High. He's getting a lot of reps there at linebacker when we do Monday Night Football, and then during the bye week he got a lot of reps because of our lack of depth there. And he did a nice job, stood out. And then I thought Davis Mallinger, who's been playing on special teams, he had a really good week. And those reps that he and Saint, obviously with our thin secondary, I think those are going to be meaningful reps. Offensively, Goose Crowder, really impressed with his leadership. I think he continues to grow. He's gotten stronger. I like his potential. I like his leadership traits. He can run. He had a really good week. Impressive. Tomas Rimac, who's a guy that is playing in this style of offense way different from what he did in high school. He's getting better at pass pro. Thought he had a good week. And then Caden Prather continues to show up. We let him go in the scrimmage, and he's a guy I think will have a good second half. And then Justin Johnson and then Charles Finley. Charles Finley, he's still light. He needs to gain weight, but I thought he competed and did a nice job last week. Started second half this week with TCU. So second half of the season, that's how we're talking about it with our players. Obviously, the first half didn't go how we wanted to, and we got 6 games left. And start with TCU, a program that I have a lot of respect for. I think if you look throughout college football, Gary Patterson is one of these guys that he's a veteran, and I think personally I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for the program he's established. To do it for an extended period of time, especially in this day and age, is special. And he's definitely done that. So special teams-wise, just hit them in each phase. I think their return game is where they really stuck out. I think year in and year out, they're one of the best punt return units in the country. Their receiver, Darius Davis, is both their punt returner. Spielman's been out at kickoff returner. He's super talented. Darius Davis does a nice job in the kickoff return. I think our coverage units are going to be tested. They're really good at both of those areas from a schematic standpoint and the talent they have in the return game. Offensively, they've done a great job mixing it up. You can tell they've made it a point to improve running the football, and they have. They've ran it extremely well versus everybody they've played this year. I think for them it starts with Duggan, the quarterback. The kid's a winner. He competes. I heard on the game the other night he's playing with a broken bone in his foot. You wouldn't know it. He's throwing the ball, I think, better than he has in his career. He's got 2 running backs that are extremely talented, in Evans and Miller. And then Quentin Johnston is a difficult match. And he had well over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns versus Oklahoma last week, and he's coming on. He's a sophomore that's really coming on. And I think the most improved aspect of their team is on the offensive line. They're playing 7 guys up there. They've had a couple injuries, but they haven't fallen off. I think they've done a really nice job with their development there. Defensively, they make it tough. Year in and year out, they make it tough. They take away what you do best. They've had a bunch of injuries over there. I think for them, it starts with their D-ends. That's where, if you look at it compared with the rest of the league, I think that's where they have a real advantage. Mathis, 98, Coleman, who's come back and played here recently. They're really good. They're a tough match for you one-on-one in pass protection. In the corner, Hodges Tomlinson is a great player. I've seen him on some of the draft projections going really high, which they always have. They always have secondary guys that are draftable guys, and they do a really good job of developing them there too. So that's kind of TCU in a nutshell. So with that, we'll take questions.
So Neal, open week is always sort of a fine line between getting rest and doing that, and then obviously working to get better. So how do you balance that? Which way do you go with that?
Yeah, so we were really probably mentally exhausted and physically beat up coming off that subpar performance versus Baylor, and so we practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We did good on good work all 3 days. Shorter amount of time on the field, um, but we got a bunch of fundamental work and a bunch of good on good work, and felt good about it. Guys had good attitudes. I think we gave them off on the rest of the day Thursday after practice in the morning, all day Friday, Saturday, and then we practiced on Sunday night. A little bit harder practice than we normally would have on a Monday. Had good attitudes, excited about the week. I think they're refreshed mentally, which is important as anything, and ready to kind of go about the business.
Schematically, I mean, you don't have to tell us exactly what you're going to do, but you do some tweaks when you have a little bit of extra time.
Well, I think you're looking for solutions. I think that's as much as anything. You go back and you do a bunch of self scout during the bye week because you have some time, and that's what you do. And you go back, kind of eval. Okay, what have you done well? I think we've got a pretty good um, understanding of what we're capable of doing, and then where we made mistakes. I think that's probably the most important thing. Is whether it's schematically, personnel wise, whatever. You look and say, okay, we made these mistakes. How do we correct them, or how do we avoid them? As much as anything. So, I don't think there's schematically there's going to be night and day difference. I think what we'll attempt to do versus TCU is put our guys in the best position possible to go out and play to our strengths.
Kind of following up on that a little bit. How many times do you try to correct something that you think should be pretty good before you say, okay, this isn't working, we've got to move on?
Well, I think ownership's a big piece of it. I think that maybe just because let's take from a coaching perspective on ownership, just because it's a scheme that you've used in the past that you feel really strong. If your personnel can't execute it, well, that's as a coach you don't want to try to put that into play if our guys can't execute it. As a probably kind of a broader answer to that, Kevin, is the things that you got to correct are fundamental mistakes. Whatever it is, footwork, pad level, anything like that. Like those are non-negotiable. You got to fix those. If it's a schematic issue that maybe you can't be in this coverage, I think you got to eliminate it. And that's kind of what we try to do is we try to cut back on the things that, okay, what are we asking our guys, even though it was good for us maybe a year ago or in the past, what are the things that we're doing that just don't fit what our personnel is?
When a team has struggled in certain aspects, like TCU has, like let's say run game, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if your game plan, you do what you want to do. Do you try to match it up where they have been soft against other teams, or do you look at where they've been vulnerable and you say, whether you can or can't do it, attack them because everybody else has it?
Yeah, I think and this is just in general too, is like you try to look and say, okay, where are they vulnerable? Where can you attack them at? And you match what you do well against those. I think that you have to be careful in when you watch them on tape. So Oklahoma's got some different personnel than we have, and they did some really good things schematically versus TCU, but those aren't necessarily a great fit for us. And that works the way offense and defensively. So you look at them, structurally, the thing that's really impressive about what Gary and those guys have done on defense is structurally they're very similar, but they make subtle tweaks week in and week out to take you kind of way what you do best. And he does a really good job of adjusting in games. All right, if you hit him on something, let's say you do something different or something he hadn't seen, he does a really good job in between series making those corrections. I think the reason behind that is because he's been running the scheme for so long, he knows all the answers, right? And so I think that's really something in coaching that's important is when you have issues, you got to know how to fix them. And so he does a really good job fixing them. But back to directly to your question is, yes, so you look on tape, all right, what are people having success versus them defensively? What fits us? All right, is there something that we can add to our package in any of the three phases that we've seen on film that match up with what we do well? And you do. I think the whole profession kind of borrows and steals from each other.
Generally
speaking, when you go against a 4-2-5, where do you attack? Just generally speaking.
Well, John, why the hell I want to tell him right here?
In any
Tony gave me the funny look first, John. I'm just glad you asked questions. Like, I got on money the other day because you didn't ask any questions, John. I think that, so 4 down front. Now, they do get into a 3 down front some. You know, they did that against Oklahoma State, but they've been primarily a 4-man front. The thing that I think the 4-2-5 does, which is very similar to the kind of the personnel grouping that we use defensively, is they're not a sub in, sub out. You know, so with the personnel, they play a little bit bigger nickel, so they can line up in 10, 11, and 12 with the same people on the field. And I think what they do is they do a really good job of playing plays. You know, and that's what, and really, John, that's what I was saying. And like, they take away what you do best, because whatever you've shown on film that your go-to plays is Gary and that whole defensive staff is really good at taking away what you do best. And so I don't know if it's necessarily the 4-2-5 personnel. It's more how they have answers for what you do your best.
Schematically, is there anything you can do to increase the turnovers that you've been getting, or vice versa? If there isn't anything schematically, do you have to change personnel to try and build up?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that we've tried to emphasize during the bye week is we got to get our hands on more balls, right? So defensive line-wise, we got to do a better job of getting our hands up on passing down, especially in a quick game and in RPOs when you really can't pressure the passer. You got it, and that's what Baylor did a really good job of. They didn't give our defensive line an opportunity to get involved in the pass game, because either they got 5 out and it was catch throw, or they max protected, you know, with seven or 8 bodies. And so on those plays where you're not going to be able to get pressure, we got to get our hands up. And the other thing, we just got to be more aggressive in the secondary for going after the ball, you know, and breaking on it and not worrying about, you know, the negative. Maybe we get there a little early. We gotta cut it loose and let them go after it.
You talked about going on the road for recruiting. Do you look more at guys that are new and haven't committed, or do you go out and re-recruit or continue to recruit guys you've already got commitments from?
Yeah, it's both, Greg. So it's an evaluation period. So what we can do is basically watch them. You're not having any meetings or anything like that. So basically what you do is you go out and watch them. Early in the week, watch them practice. Later in the week, we were able to watch them play. And it's been a mix. You know, you go around during the course of the year, you try to see all your committed guys. You know, the guys that are committed. And then you have that top priority list of 22s, and then the 23s that you're already on. And that's kind of what we did. And like I said, we got, I think all 11 of us were out Monday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm sorry, I didn't go out on Thursday, but on Monday and Friday, all 10 of us were out on Thursday, and I think 4 or 5 of us on Saturday. So it was a good run.
They have a good line of attention in their backfield. It looks kind of overlooked, but seems pretty dangerous if you think ahead.
I think those 2 backs are special. You know, if you look at our league, we're getting ready to hit the gauntlet. You know, you got Brees Hall. Bijan Robinson's playing at a high level, but Evans and Miller, you know, Evans, I think he's played at an extremely high level all year. Miller does get a little bit overlooked, but look at his production. You know, he's a bigger kid, but I mean, he runs away from Oklahoma on the touchdown, you know, as he tight ropes the sideline. But I think the running back, the level running back play in our league right now is really high, and I would put those guys up there with the best of them.
TCU has always been known as like a strong defensive team. This year, I mean, they're 3-3 and they're getting in shootouts every game. It seems like the last 2 games, 52-31. They've had 42-34. I mean, does it seem like a different TCU team in years past, even though you still speak highly of their defense? Do you expect more of a shootout this time?
I don't know. I think the Texas Tech game is probably a little bit misleading because they got up so far. You know, a lot of those points from Texas Tech were in the second half. And they did some good things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking away from Texas Tech, but that's a little bit different of a game. Their scores are a little bit different this year. You know, and I think if you look at it, this is what kind of stuck out to me during the bye week and then watching against Oklahoma is go up and down their defensive roster and look how many people have missed time, right? Caleb Coleman got hurt in preseason camp. He's out. They've had a couple of interior D linemen that have missed some time. You go back and look at last week, 25, Wyatt Harris, who's kind of their quarterback over there. He didn't play. And then the secondary's kind of been a rotation through. Even Hodges Tomlinson missed from the second quarter on last week. And so they've been dealing with a bunch of injuries. I think that probably has as much to do with some of the scoring as anything. But it's not a group that we take advantage of, or we take slight at all. You know, I think our issues have been well documented.
Looks like he's a really good guy with the balls in the air.
Yeah, he looks the part, man. And I think they've got a good mix. You know, they've got him and then the two slots that seem like they've been there forever. You know, Barbers, I think, and then Darius Davis. They've got a good mix there. I thought he was special last week. Johnston was. You know, I thought Duggan put the ball where he had a chance, and then and Oklahoma's got a couple good quality cover guys, and I thought he went up and just made plays. But he's a sophomore, much improved from a year ago. But I thought what he did last week was really impressive.
Neal, midway point, looks like might count 6 or 7 true freshmen that you are not going to redshirt. So have you made decisions, and do you think you push anybody else out, or do you pull anybody else back?
We played the one that we've really got to make a call on is Wilson Lamp. You know, he's right at that level, at that number of games. You know, we're going to play Davis. Saints still got a couple games that he can play. You know, Hammond Russell is a guy that we'd probably like to hold, but if we need him, we'll use him. You know, he continues to get reps. Eddie V will play. KP will obviously play. Justin Johnson's going to play. Wyatt's going to play. I think those are the main guys. Yeah, he's going to continue to play. I think as we get into our league play these last 6 games, and plus he's earned the opportunity. And he's older. I don't know how fired up he is about redshirting. You know what I mean? Like he's a little older.
You know, what are your thoughts on stat passing efficiency that they use, number one? And
I don't understand it.
say,
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm confused by the NFL and the college. I don't even. Are they the same, Bob? You might know. You're a baseball guy. Like there's a lot of weird stats there too. I really don't understand it, and I'm not being I really don't. You know, I know the higher you have, the better.
Good. So the reason I ask it is that you're ranked 108th, I think, in the nation, 113 or something like that in the nation, 103, and they're number 8 in passing efficiency.
Is it based on yards per attempt?
Can you read anything into that?
Well, I think our yards per attempt is not what you'd like it to be. We haven't passed for as many touchdowns. We've had interceptions early in the year. That's what I would say, you know. But I really don't. Honestly, that's not a stat that I look at a ton, and you know, it's not one that I totally understand. Being truthful about it either.
Talking about the start of the second half of the season, coming up to bye week, 6 games left. I mean, what's the sense of urgency like? I know you're not like panicking yet or anything, but I mean, is there a heightened sense of urgency than you've had in your 3 years here so far?
No, I just think we need to start winning some games, right? I mean, like that's why you prepare. We put a lot of time in this building to go out and put a product out of there that gives us an opportunity to win. And I don't think anybody's pleased. We need to have a sense of urgency all the time, you know. And so, is it heightened? I don't know if that's the case. I just know that we need to play better, you know. And so we need to go out and we got 1 game this week, and then we'll move through the schedule. We play really good people from here on out, and we need to play better than we did against Baylor. You know, that's the whole thing in my mind.
They've struggled some stopping the run this year. Do you look at this as an opportunity to kind of get the running game on track this week?
Yeah, I mean that's where we spent, you know, most of our time last week is getting the running game on track, and it's been close. We just haven't been consistent. You know, that's kind of our MO of our football team right now. We just haven't been consistent enough. They've had some issues versus the run this year. It's our hope that we can take advantage of that, but we got to go out and execute. You know, we got to play better on the offensive line. We got to run through some tackles. We got to do a better job of controlling the extra hat with some things schematically. So, but they're giving up more rushing yards than they have in the past. Again, I think a lot of that's due to injury. But for us to have success, we got to be able to run it, and that's been a struggle for us.
Do you guys have a number two kind of distancing themselves at all yet, or is that
Running back?
Yeah, is that still working?
You know, Garrett's been our second leading rusher. You know, that's where we kind of been getting carries from. You know, Justin and Tony. Tony was better during the bye week. You know, so we're going to let that play out Tuesday and Wednesday, and really whoever has the better Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to go. You know, but the answer, no, not one of them has not separated themselves yet.
The running backs you're going to see are pretty good. Running defense has been probably the best part of your defense so far too. Confident that if you can stonewall them a little bit, that'll improve your defense, kind of take away other teams' offense, Oklahoma State, Texas, Iowa State, those teams.
Yeah, I think that's got to be our first priority versus these guys. You know, I don't think that they've hidden the fact that they want to run the football. That's their first and foremost goal. And for us, we got to put them in must pass situations, and we got to stop them. I think first down's going to be huge in this game. If you look at it, I think both Evans and Miller, their yards per carry, they're two of the highest in the country. Yards per rush attempt, they're right there at the top in the Big 12 and in college football right now. So we feel good about our run defense. That's been the best part, probably our best part of our football team. That and a couple areas on special teams so far. But it's maybe our biggest challenge this week.
You study them. What makes them so good in the red zone?
Yeah, well, I think the ability to run the football. You know, I think if you look at it, and they've done a nice job with they got a big target in Quentin Johnson. He's got some touchdown receptions. I think they do a nice job of getting in shorter yardage, if that makes sense, John. Like they're in third and short, third and medium, and they have the ability, because they ran the ball so well on third and medium, that to be a rundown for them. But I think to give you a really simple answer is their ability to run the ball. You know, it gets harder and harder to throw it the further you go, and especially if you have success on early downs running it makes it a lot easier.
Speaking of simple, it sounds simple. They've had trouble stopping the run. You have a running quarterback that you could use. Mm-hmm. Do we see more of him this week? Or?
Yeah, I think he's going to play. You know, a lot of it will be how he goes about this week, but yeah, he'll play. And there's some opportunities. You know, I thought he's coming off one of his better games versus Baylor. And Garrett's got to continue to grow. The deal is, like with Garrett, is our receivers have been our most productive piece of our offense. And Garrett's got to continue in his ability to get on the ball. And that's where he's got to show the most growth.
Still week to week kind of thing, and then changing to Jackie. I don't know what benefits reassurance does that give you?
Yeah, so Scotty's back. Jackie will start at the spear. And Jackie is played really good football for us. I think he's been one of our most consistent performers. He's aggressive. I think that's his natural spot there at spear. I think that he gets him closer to the ball, where it gives us the ability to play a little bit more man coverage with him in the game there. And he's a good blitzer, and so I think that's a good spot for him. But Scotty, he's back, and he'll be out there this week.